We work on corporate, which lists things to do, and groups that make good things happen in communities around the UK. It's kind of like an online community centre. Just like the diverse communities we all live in and the community centres serve, it is really important corporate reflect that diversity and is inclusive and accessible to everyone.
Recently we decided to overhaul the whole design of the Cooperate website. When we did this, we decided that we were going to get rid of all the stock photography that we were previously using and only use images that were uploaded by community organisers. We did this to show the diverse range of real people doing good things in their communities. We don't rely on colour alone to signify differences. We also made sure that all the colours we were using had enough colour contrast to make the text easily readable. And for the designers out there, there's a great Figma plugin I'd recommend, which is called Able, and it shows you whether it passes AA and AAA standards.
At Co-op, 1 in 5 of our research participants has an accessibility need. On our most recent testing on the Cooperate platform for the design overhaul, we tested with people who had mobility and cognitive impairments. We also worked with our recruitment agency, People for Research, to ensure that we were chatting to a diverse range of people across Manchester and London. Previously on Cooperate, when we'd reached out to local groups or to groups that were listed on our website, we found that we were speaking to a lot of the same people from similar age groups. By working with People for Research, we were able to speak to a range of people from different ages, ethnicities, and genders. The findings from the research were really valuable. For example, on our activity page, we realised that we needed to include parking information and accessibility information for buildings. We also saw that we needed different privacy settings for different groups. So for example, we spoke to a women's group that needed to protect the members within the group. By testing with a diverse group of people with different accessibility needs, we've been able to ensure that the Cooperate website is the most helpful it can be for everyone.
So there's broadly 2 different types of content on the Cooperate site. Content we've written to help people get around and understand the site, and content that's been created by our users. So that's groups and organisers in communities across the UK. Across the site we've made sure all the links are descriptive and they reflect where they're taking people. This is especially useful for screen reader users who can navigate pages using links alone. We've reduced the amount of content on some of the pages. This is to help people get to where they need to fast and reduce the cognitive load. That's the amount of mental effort it takes to get there. All headings and subheadings are descriptive and clearly state what you can do in that section. This helps people find what they need to quickly. It also reflects the way we know people read online, so they skim read the page rather than reading word for word. We've used plain English and simple, clear instructions throughout the site. This reduces barriers and opens up the site so that more people, no matter what their circumstances, can use it.
We're managing so much user-generated content on Cooperate. It's important we guide people to create accessible content. We've introduced content guidelines prompting people to explain acronyms, use short sentences as they're easier to understand, and use bullet points instead of commas as they're easier to scan. We've reduced the amount of free text boxes in our forms and offered more multiple choice answers. This helps people who are time poor or might worry about their grammar or literacy. Where we have used text boxes, we've used hint text and design techniques to help people know what kind of information we need. This can help reassure and guide people.
To make sure the site is accessible, we need to make sure all users, whatever the device, can access the site. They could be using a mobile phone, they could be using a tablet or a desktop computer, but they could be using a screen reader, for instance, or any other form of assistive technology. We follow the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines when writing the markup to the site, which is the code that the browser understands. It means that the screen readers can also understand it in a way that makes sense to users. To make sure that we follow those guidelines, we use a set of tools which analyze the code on the page and will highlight areas where maybe we need to focus and change a few things when there's not enough of a description for an image, for instance, or where a button is mislabeled and not understandable. And we do also a lot of testing by hand, so using the keyboard, for example, to make sure that the site can be used without a mouse and functions correctly for all users.